the other event is going on in Saudi Arabia, and we have our correspondent Mayo Adegoke there to cover it. So who is covering it for us over there in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia? We did bring you that talk with that she had with Mr. Elumelu. That was yesterday. We saw that. But let's get update of what else has been happening in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and find out with Mayowa. Hi, Mayowa. How is it going there? What are conversations going on in Riyadh? We know you met up with the chairman of Hare's Group. But what else can you tell us about activities going on in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia?
Hello, and it's so good to see you. And a lot is going on. It's day 2 of the FII8, that's the Future Investment Initiative. And it's quite exciting to see so many global leaders and who people I like to call the global money bags gather together to discuss how to finance projects that would ultimately impact humanity. Day 1 was packed, so many sessions, plenary sessions. Of course, we had our very own Tony Elumelu, I beg your pardon, speak on a number of panels and stages. It was interesting to see him, of course, advocate Africa's power sector, advocate for the creation of jobs for Africa's young population. He talks about seeing potential, but also quite concerned about the rate of unemployment across board. So many conversations are going on even beyond just Africa. They're talking about AI, they're talking about healthcare. In fact, one of the interesting and trending topics has been the US election. Global leaders talking about what the economy of the world would look like if Kamala or Trump should win the office. Just today, they had a live poll conducted asking which candidate they think would be better for global economy. And it's interesting that Trump won that particular poll. So these are the sorts of conversations going on. You have leaders from some of the leading financial institutions from across the world. Yesterday we had the CEO of TikTok talking about AI, talking about regulation, and so many other things. So it's been quite interesting to listen in on these conversations and see how global leaders are thinking and how they plan to use their office, their position, their influence, and their money to impact the world.
Yeah, interesting, Maya. Well, the thing about the US election, obviously, is we don't want to get caught up with that fever. Let's face ours. We know it will certainly affect us one way or the other. But I mean, talking about future investments in Africa, you spoke with Mr. Elumelu there, and he talked about the need to create more job opportunities. Technology does that. You did say that it's global money bags meeting there, but I wonder what you see when it comes to benefit to Africa, to Nigeria at the end of the day. After the talks, does it look like we're going to get anything that will better our stance and our status?
One thing I'll say from being here the past 2 days for different sessions is, number one, I'd like to see more African private sector players here. That's one thing I'll tell you. I've not seen enough African private sector players here, whether as speakers, whether as delegates, or whether as guests. Because if the global money bags are here, then this is where people should be to lobby, to network, to see what projects are going on, see where they're thinking, where do they want to put money, and find a way to align it with what people in Africa are doing. So that's one thing that I would have liked to see more of. Another thing I've observed is how the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as again and again we emphasize, is interest in Africa. I see them championing emerging economies and saying, listen, how can we channel funds into emerging economies? What are the roadblocks? What can be done? So it's interesting to see KSA really advocate for Africa, restate and reemphasize their interest in Africa, how they're already doing a lot in Africa and they want to do more. Just this morning, I had an interview with one of the top leaders at the AG Fund. It's one of the funds here and they do a lot in Africa. And I asked him, I said, what are the roadblocks? If there are two things we know, it is one, investors are looking for returns, and two, Africa has got great potential. So it looks like that should be 1+1=2. So what is the problem? And he talked about how vision is lacking. So on the Africa side, they want to see more vision. They want to see governments be consistent in their policies, and they want to see that they're also following through on their own local plans. So before we bring you our money, we want to see what you are doing with your money. We want to see what you are doing with your policies. We want to see your MSME thrive so that we have more confidence to bring in money. So it's not a case of them not being convinced that Africa is where to put their money. It is, there's so much more beyond Africa is the place to put our money.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Mayo. I hear you there. Policy inconsistency still a threat for the continent. But thank you so much, and do stay safe there. We'll be looking forward to more updates from you from here, Saudi Arabia.
Thank you very much.